on your side. This is News 19 WLTX.
Good afternoon. We do want to welcome you to our welcome to our viewers at home and those who are joining us all across the country on Facebook Live today. It's Election Day. I'm Darcy Strickland.
And I'm J.R. Berry. For the next 15 minutes, News 19 WLTX will be bringing you uninterrupted coverage of the election from right here in Columbia, South Carolina. And we're going to begin with voter turnout as many counties across the state say they are experiencing long lines.
News 19's Ashley Isbicki is at the State Election Commission, one of the groups monitoring polling places. And Ashley, we've heard that folks have been standing in line as little as a couple of minutes, and some folks have stood in line for almost an hour.
Yeah, that is right, Darcy. It's really kind of a case-by-case situation. Some people in and out within a matter of 15 minutes. Other people, not the same story. So the influx of people kind of depends and changes throughout the day. But here at the State Election Commission, there are about 25 people who have been working hard for the past 2 years to make today happen. This is where they handle the statewide voter registration. This is where they answer calls and questions, your questions about absentee voting or maybe your polling place and all of that. So they have been getting a lot of calls this morning, but so far voter turnout looking to be strong. I want to bring in Chris Whitmire, who is the spokesperson for the South Carolina Elections Commission. And today, all of your hard work handed down to 2,200 poll managers across the state.
Yeah, 2,200 polling locations across the state, about 20,000 poll managers, and they really do the frontline work of conducting an election. We wouldn't have elections if it wasn't for poll managers, and we thank every one of them out there today working a very long day, and we ask voters who may be experiencing lines. We're having very high turnout, so there will be some lines out there, and there have been, but we ask voters to be patient and thank your poll managers for the job that they do. If they weren't out there basically volunteering, they do get paid, but they're there to volunteer, to do their civic duty, to make sure we have elections in the United States and South Carolina, so we thank them for that.
We're already 5 hours in, more than 5 hours since the polls have been open here in South Carolina. Are we hearing of any issues, any major issues across the state?
Haven't heard of any significant or persistent issues that are having any sort of effect on the ability of voters to cast their ballots. Now, when you have that many moving parts, 2,200 polling places, over 13,000 voting machines, 20,000 poll managers, you're going to have some issues, isolated issues here and there. And we've seen that this morning, poll managers having trouble opening their voting machines, that sort of thing, but nothing that wasn't resolved quickly and nothing that is affecting voters' ability to be able to go and vote today.
Thank you for joining us with that update. And we did find out some numbers as well. We're taking a look at record numbers for absentee voting. Already nearly 500,000 absentee ballots have been cast here in the state of South Carolina. And to give you some perspective, the last general election, that number was only 395,000. So already breaking that number. So voter turnout expected to be very high today. I did also talk to the Richland County Election Commission. For folks across the country watching right now, that is where the capital of South Carolina is, Columbia, South Carolina, in Richland County. And it was a hot spot 4 years ago with some people waiting 3-4 hours to cast their vote because of issues with voting machines. I did, again, talk to Richland County. They're saying so far that is not the case. There have been a couple of issues, but we're hearing that is because of issues with temperature. A colder morning here to start in Columbia, South Carolina. Take a listen to what Sam Self had to say.
Another issue that has caused us some problems was when we had the inclement weather and we had to push up the last day to register to vote in the November 8th election today. There's been some confusion about that because some folk went to the DMV, some folk went to the website, and it was specified that you had to registered by mail, and it had to be certified by October the 11th, and those that were not, you're not eligible to vote in this election. And so that constituted in that sense a lateness in registering to vote to be able to vote in this election, and that caused some issues at the polls.
And we're hearing that same story here today. A lot of calls about registering. And unfortunately, if you were not registered, you cannot vote today. That is just the process here in South Carolina and, of course, across the country. But as for the numbers of Richland County, there are more than 1,100 voting machines. And I was told only about 10 of those, less than 10 of the voting machines are not working. So you're looking at less than 1% there. But for now, I'll send things back to Darcy and JR in the studio.
All right, Ashley Isbicki, thank you so much.
The polls opened here at 7 a.m. and they will close at 7 p.m.
News 19's Janae Frazier is at the Polo Road location in Richland County. Janae, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And as you can see, it's not too many people out here right now casting their ballots, but it was a much different story earlier today. I'm joined now by Miss Myra Nelson. She's one of the poll managers. Tell us, how early have you been here and what's it been like?
We are supposed to report for work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and when I reported for work, there were already people, there must have been about 20 people outside waiting to get in and vote, and as it got closer to 7 o'clock when the polls opened, the lines lengthened, so it was very busy until about, an hour ago. It was just wall-to-wall people voting.
And have you had any problems so far?
Just the usual of some of the machines not working, not very many, and the technician is going to be on his way out, and other than that, people sometimes arrived at the wrong poll, and we try to catch up with that before they wait too long and send them on their way. But it's been quite pleasant.
Well, thank you so much, and we hope it continues to go well. Again, of course, as you know, the polls here close at 7. Darcy and JR, back to you.
All right, Janae, thank you so much. We have both Democrat and Republican state leadership joining us in our live coverage.
Our first guest is South Carolina Lieutenant Governor Henry McMaster. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, he was elected to office as Lieutenant Governor in November 2014, and earlier this year you became the first state lawmaker to back Donald Trump in his race for the White House. Why?
Well, was fascinated by the possibilities for the future offered by Donald Trump. He speaks in a language that everyone can understand. He comes with vast experience and accomplishment. He's strong, he's determined, he's quite well-read and informed, and he brings fresh eyes to the whole situation. That's what I think we need in Washington. But his emphasis on reducing taxes, working better trade deals, putting strict constructionists on the U.S. Supreme Court, things that would make the economy grow for everybody, attracted my attention at the beginning, and it's proven to be right. That's why he's doing so well in the polls and why we're hoping he's going to win.
When you made the decision to support Donald Trump, it was not the same decision that the governor, Nikki Haley, made. Did you ever talk to her? Did you guys come together? Did you have a discussion about the Republican Party in South Carolina going one direction with one candidate?
At the time I made that decision, that was back on mid-January, and nobody had made that same decision. But a lot have come around since then. And of course, most of the statewide elected officials and others in South Carolina were supporting other candidates. We had great candidates, but yes, we've talked since then. All of us have, and we're pulling for Donald Trump to win this election, and we believe he's going to do it against unprecedented odds from the mainstream media, as well as a very strong fight by the Democrats, and we're highly confident.
Donald Trump, over the last several months, been quite controversial in some aspects. The country is divided, Republican and Democrat. What happens tomorrow if Hillary Clinton wins? What happens with the Donald Trump supporters? Well,
of course, Donald Trump has always been controversial. But the main source of the controversy this time is his outspokenness. He can't tell anything but the truth, and he does so at every opportunity. But what's going to have to happen after the election? Of course, I think the country will come back together. Because it's a great country, and we've got a lot of rough things coming down the road for us in terms of on foreign policy, as well as helping the people make a living, to get out of the way and let free enterprise operate in this country. But there'll be a difference. There'll be a big difference, because these two candidates are very, very different on those issues, on foreign policy, as well as tax policy, internal policies. This is about the most stark differences between two candidates that we've had in my memory. And I am confident that under Donald Trump and the people that he will have helping and his leadership, we'll have a burst of prosperity here. And economic prosperity is the thing that makes a country strong internally as well as internationally. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Lieutenant Governor, we have to call it a wrap on that. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, we do want to get back to the issues at the polling places. News 19's Dion Guillory was at Sandhill Elementary in Lexington County today, where there were some issues with some of the voting machines.
Well, voters here at Sandhills Middle School are making their way in line and going to cast their ballot. Take a look behind me. You can see the line is moving very smooth. It's not a long line. They have two precincts here, the Gaston 2 precinct and the Sandhills precinct. And the Sandhills precinct is what had a problem earlier. Take a look at this picture sent to us by Renee Simpson on Twitter. She said people starting to get upset due to one machine for all precincts voting at Sandhills Middle School in Gaston. And you can see the line in this picture is pretty awful, pretty long and pretty crowded. A lot of people telling us here after they finally got a chance to vote, they took about 2.5 to 3 hours to vote here. But we talked to the technician here for the machines who explains what the problem was.
The problem that they had is they line up all the machines one into the other machine, and they have a power strip that works for the first machine, so they all receive power. But one of the machines apparently has a defective outlet, and as a result, a couple of the machines went down. And so what we did is we took the remaining machines, we plugged them in and pigtailed those together, and as of that time now, they are all working correctly.
Now all those machines are working again. The lines are moving. Everyone is able to get in and vote. Also, the technician told us that every vote will be counted and no votes were cast on those machines before the problem was found out. Now, if you have any problems at your particular polling place, tweet us a picture with the hashtag #VerifyVotes. Also, we have a hotline that is open until 7 this evening. That number is 647-0299. In Gaston, I'm Dion Guillory for News 19 WLTX.
All right, Dion, thank you. We want to continue our discussion now on Election Day with Jamie Harrison. He is the chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party.
He was elected to this position back in 2013. Jamie, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Obviously, it's been a very busy day for you so far.
Very busy. Got up early this morning, voted with my little guy and my wife, and so it's been a great day so far.
Let's talk about what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
You heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about what happens if Donald Trump loses. What happens tomorrow if we wake up and Donald Trump is president-elect of the United States?
I don't think that's going to happen. Democrats are going to be partying like it's 1999 tonight. So I don't think Donald Trump's going to win. And you know, if you look consistently at the polls over the past few weeks and months, and they've bounced up and down, but consistently Hillary Clinton has been in the lead, and I think she will tonight. She has banked a number of early votes in very critical states, of Florida and Nevada, and I think those votes will lead her to victory tonight.
South Carolina is traditionally a red state. How do you turn it blue?
Well, I think we're going to take a big step in doing that tonight. I think this election will probably be the closest that we've had in South Carolina since 1976 when Jimmy Carter won the state as a Democrat. We'll see. You know, the two key points are looking at what is the percentage of the vote that the third-party candidates receive. If they get up to 10%, then Hillary Clinton is going to have a shocker here in South Carolina. And the second thing is, what is the percentage of white voters who vote for Hillary Clinton? If she can get 30% of the vote of white voters in South Carolina, again, we think that she could pull off a big upset. There's been some controversy surrounding Hillary Clinton, just as with Donald Trump. If she is the president-elect tomorrow, how does she bring the country together? Her message has already been one of bringing us together. If you look at her slogan, it is stronger together, forward together. And I think her speech last night in Philadelphia and the speech that she will give tonight will be about bringing the nation together, unifying us.
Jamie Harrison, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Well, again, our polls here in South Carolina are open until 7 o'clock tonight, and wherever you're watching from, the polls will be closing at different times. So we suggest you check with your local precincts to see how long they are open. Some states open, of course, depending on where you live in the country, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock our time, obviously, 10 o'clock out on the West Coast.
And even though we're leaving you on air and online, on Facebook, we will be available to you on all formats of social media throughout the day if you want to follow the race here in South Carolina.
Don't forget to vote today. It's very important. Please get out and make your vote count. And again, for our local viewers, we have continuous coverage throughout the day. You will find us right here on Facebook and on WLTX.com. Thanks for watching.